Okay, this is Jack Looney, and sad to say this, but I'm going to be pivoting. My ideal customers were people that, people after they drink who felt hungover, and it's usually when they're getting up in the morning because they might have drank too much the night before, or they didn't take the precautions they needed to not feel crappy in the morning. I did this part on paper, but the gist of it was I interviewed a girl from my town, and she told me that in the mornings she would feel groggy. The night before, she'd have no precautions, and she would just kind of go into the night without really preparing for the consumption of alcohol that she was going to go into. Iteration. I believe that people who started drinking at a young point in their life may have been addicted to alcohol or may develop an addiction to alcohol. To verify this, I interviewed people about their drinking. I learned that a lot of these people don't see it as a problem, and therefore I will be trying to find how people prepare to drink and if they do so or not. My business model is the problem I want to help people who are suffering from addiction or people in addicted households. Customer segment, my ideal customers are alcoholics who feel addicted because of their addiction. And my channels are neighborhoods where alcoholism is prevalent, or I could go through Zoom. Previous iteration. We used to believe that growing up in an alcohol environment had a large influence on if you'd be consuming alcohol in the future. To verify my belief, I would be interviewing people from my neighborhood. And I learned that a lot of the people started drinking at the age 13, and people wish they didn't. People also tell me that they've not drank at parties but went home, which is kind of bad. Therefore, we will be trying to figure out how making a non-alcoholic beverage. I'm not really sure I want to be doing that anymore. That's why I am pivoting. I'm now thinking of going into something maybe like an alarm or a system where you can set scheduled times for when you should be drinking, or if you just sign up for our app, you could say I will be drinking on Friday, Monday, whenever, hopefully not Monday, but it would send you notifications for when you need to drink water or eat or something just to remind you, because we don't always have a friend next to us to tell us when to slow down or things like that. That's the same thing. Second summary. The second one I did was let me pull it up. The second one I did was actually my uncle. He told me that he started drinking at a fairly young age. Both of his parents were alcoholics, and this kind of put a lot of pressure on him to not drink. But, of course, growing up with it his whole life, he kind of fell into it, even though he saw the bad things that happened through his family. And that was kind of the gist of what he was saying to me. After drinking, he would usually feel groggy or in the dumps, things like that's what he said word for word. He said that if he could, majority of the nights that he goes out and drinks, he would prepare better. This is also on paper. It didn't let me do this on the thing. Okay, but I wasn't able to type for this part in the interview checkpoint, but I interviewed my roommate who's from home, and my roommate's friend from home, sorry. And the first problem that we addressed was how he may be drinking too much. He said if somebody was kind of on my side the whole night, then he'd have an easier time stop drinking. He'd have a much easier time remembering to eat. I know a lot of the time people they go out before they actually eat. You got to get a good base. That's what my parents always tell me. And yeah, he said that if somebody was by his side telling him, or at least giving him advice on the night, then he would have a much easier time in the morning, and he'd probably feel a lot better. The second problem is drinking in general. He said that he consumes a lot of alcohol at once, and if you can cut back, if somebody was telling you to slow down, then that would be a major help. He did not really take any actions to prevent the drinking. He said sometimes he just needs a day off, especially over this week. It's a pretty big week, St. Paddy's Day. But yeah, it was it was hard to get a lot of people to interview because they were always out. And our third problem is the amount of money he was spending. And to cut back on that, he's told me he'd buy cheaper booze. So not exactly what you want to hear. For summarizing my interviews, all around, I saw that people didn't really see drinking as a problem, or at least the way they drank. It's not always a problem, but it can become one, and it's hard to really differentiate between it being a problem and it not. This is kind of what I came to, and I also found out that it's a lot harder to talk to people about these issues than I initially thought they'd be. People are more hesitant to open up with me than I thought. And it was kind of hard to get information out of a lot of people. But I kind of learned that they're not really in the market for a non-alcoholic beverage. So I was thinking, if I can't stop the issue, then I might as well make something that can at least help them or slow them down. And I was thinking maybe an app or something that you'd sign up for. You'd enter a day that you're drinking and then the time you would be starting. And it would give you advice on when you should eat beforehand, when you should eat during, what you should drink after, like water and such. And all around, it would make for hopefully a better drinking experience than if you were in the dumps. So yeah, that's kind of what I learned from my interviews. Thank you.